issues with the Zoom link for the folks that are speaking by Zoom. So we're hoping to get that corrected in the next couple of minutes so that we can admit them in order, or at least by the end of the meeting. I would like to ask everyone to please silence all cell phones. A quorum of the board members is present in the board auditorium. They are from my right on the platform: Cassandra Ozan Bandy, Michelle Cruz Arnold, Jeanette Garza Lindner, Angela Lamond Flowers, myself, Audrey Momanai, Rick Campo, Rolando Martinez, Paula Mendoza, and Adam Ravon. If there are any elected officials in the audience, and I see at least one, please stand and be recognized. Okay, or wave. Thank you. The purpose of this meeting is for the board to hear from the public regarding whether the district should pursue District of Innovation designation. We are now ready to hear from the speakers who have registered to speak for today's public hearing regarding a District of Innovation. Public comment during school board meetings will only be available to those persons who have signed up to speak prior to the meeting time per current protocol. Verbal and other disruptions by persons during the school board meetings are not acceptable, as they inhibit the board's ability to conduct business and the public's ability to observe those processes. Persons who participate in such behavior will be given one warning, and if the behavior is repeated, they will be asked to leave the meeting. We have 12 registered speakers who will be limited to 2 minutes each per board policy. We ask that you stay on topic and refrain from naming individuals, especially students, as their identity is protected under the law, but you may name your own child. I ask that you please respect our procedures and other speakers and end your comments promptly when your time has expired and the timer rings. If you are signed up to speak via Zoom, we must see you live with your camera on as you speak. And like I said, we're working to correct the technical issue. We'll begin with Board of Education trustee Judith Cruz. Actually, she's via Zoom. Okay, we'll come back to her. Next, we'll hear from speakers who signed up to address the board in person. Will Susan Espinoza please come to the microphone? Is Ms. Espinoza here? No. Our next speaker on the list is Savant Moore. Mr. Moore.
Good afternoon. My name is Savant Moore. I'm running for District 2 trustee. I live in 5th Ward. Two of my children attend the NES school. They're gifted and talented. My son is a high school junior. The concern that I have is a lot of times people in my community, you bring these new ideas and we don't have the information. Like you're planning these new things, a District of Innovation. We're trying to get used to NES. We don't know about if this will be affect the student achievement, their performance. We have real life issues. You think about this week, alumni at Kashmir had to fund uniforms. We're a month and a half, and you're talking about a District of Innovation. We're a month and a half and they don't have uniforms. We're talking about a District of Innovation when there's elementary, middle schools, and high schools in my district too that need to be renovated. If you plug in two things at the same time, the power goes out. But we're talking about becoming a District of Innovation. There are issues that have to be addressed before we move on to so much change. The community wants to work with each and every one of you. We commend you for what you're doing, but you got to meet us halfway because there are real life issues that aren't being addressed. We don't have the boosters in my community. The other communities do have the boosters, but we don't. There's new technology that's coming in each and every week. These parents, it took a week and a half just to get physical forms uploaded to the app, and my daughter couldn't have a volleyball game today. But you want to be a District of Innovation. Let's be a District of Reality, because I live in my community. There's no representation currently that lives in my district. I'm from my district. I graduated at 16. I'm a Howard University graduate. I'm an Army Ranger. My district works. I'm a prime example. My parents did it, but can you meet the community halfway?
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Kristen Fields.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm the parent of a second grader, my little one right here, and she's also a Vanguard student. She goes to a Title I school, Windsor Village, in one of the lower income areas still great student. She's a hard worker. She is very capable. She's an enthusiastic learner. Typically, she enjoys learning in class, playing with her friends, and she takes great pride in her academic success. But for the last week, I've had a kid that cries every morning and every evening, crying not to go to school and begging not to go in the morning. She says school's boring, she's not learning, and she would rather be homeschooled at this point, which is really the opposite of what you guys are trying to do, which is keep kids in the district. She's miserable. Her confidence is plummeting, and she's starting to lose her joy for learning, which is the opposite of what we want with learners, right? She's a student at a non-NES school, it's not an NESA school, but she's still subjected to this curriculum that is just disengaging, aggressive, and honestly, it's drill and kill. Let's be honest. She's already doubting her ability to learn, and it's all thanks to this method. So this DOI plan gives the superintendent unbridled access and to change district procedures and standards at his whim. It allows Mike Miles, who utterly failed at being superintendent in Dallas ISD, the ability to circumvent the laws that are meant to protect our kids. It gives him, whose only experience in education prior to being a superintendent was running a consulting service for charter schools. Shocking. And all it does is give him the ability to continue to enforce this military style structure. We know why, because he was in the military. Mike Miles' resume is riddled with scandal.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Meg Seth, and she'll be followed by Michelle Williams.
Good evening. I'm Meg Seth, and I'm a candidate for District 4. There are a lot of questions around the District of Innovation. So in deciding the plan, I decided I would talk about the exemptions. An innovation plan cannot seek exemption from a state or federal requirement applicable to open enrollment charter schools. Regarding school district governance, state requirements for curriculum and graduation, and academic and financial accountability standards. Number 1, elected Board of Trustees. The Board of Managers are not elected. Does that mean you will be replacing them with the elected trustees? Does the Board of Managers? I have no mic. Or does the elected trustees? How soon does the Board of Managers leave? One huge issue in our community is that we need our elected trustees to be making decisions and what is right for our community. Once you start recognizing us and respecting us in our experience, I believe our community will be more able to work with you. Pre-kindergarten. I continually talk about pre-kindergarten. We must do child find for the 3 to 5-year-olds and enroll them in an exemplary pre-K community, centering on language development. With most of our children coming from low-income families, they generally start kindergarten with approximately 1,500 words. In a typical family, the average student starts kindergarten with 15,000 words. With reading struggles due to a lack of language, this is why we are starting our kids with reading disabilities. If you want to change reading acquisition, this is where you start. I haven't heard one word about pre-K.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Michelle Williams, followed by Allison Chapin. Ms. Williams.
Good afternoon. Michelle Williams, Houston Education Association. Innovate means to make changes in something established, especially by introducing new methods, ideas, or products. There's nothing new that has happened in HISD. All of this stuff is regurgitated things that we have done in the past. It's nothing new. What's happening in the NES schools do not follow best practices. What's being done to educators is downright disrespectful. Because when Mr. Miles came into HISD, He said that he was going to pay teachers. He said that he was going to have work-life balance. The teachers are working more than 8 hours a day. They are having to give up their planning time. They're having to do all these things that are supposed to be helpful, and it's not. The District of Innovation is nothing new. Extending the school year is nothing. 13 days, you think that's going to cure a 7th grader who hasn't been able to read since 3rd grade? What research says is that you're supposed to train your staff, but you don't have any staff because the district has lost most of its seasoned teachers. It's lost approximately 20,000 children and counting. The District of Innovation is not going to save HISD. Just like what's happening in the NES schools is not going to save those schools. Those schools are going to be shut down. You all are going to approve the DOI plan. We know that. Nothing is going to change. But like I've told you all before, at the end of the day, when this is done, you all will still be in your communities being held accountable for what you've done here.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Allison Chapin, followed by sir in the black shirt. Yes, sir. This is your first warning. Please stop disrupting the meeting. If I have to ask you again, I'll be asking you to leave the meeting. Thank you. Our next speaker is Allison Chapin, followed by Jasmine Colvin, and then Ruth Kravitz. Ms. Chapin, is she here? She's not here. Ms. Colvin?
I'm Jasmine Colvin with Good Reason Houston. District of Innovation is an opportunity for independent school districts to have the flexibility and autonomy they need to support the unique needs of students in creative ways. 965 school districts in Texas are districts of innovation. That means students in around 95% of Texas school districts are already experiencing the benefits of District of Innovation. DOI offers a myriad of options for flexibility without absolving the school district from state accountability. One of these is the option to adjust the school calendar. Surrounding school districts have up to 2 weeks of additional instructional time prior to state testing in HISD. As a former math teacher, I know the positive impact increased instructional time has on student outcomes by having more time for students to explore learning and more planning and professional development time for teachers. Another benefit of DOI is the ability to support college and career readiness by exempting minimum attendance requirements for course credit. The 90% attendance rule currently ties course credit to seat time rather than academic progress. DOI districts have the opportunity to explore innovative course structures that can offer opportunities for mentorships, internships, virtual participation, and blended learning while students are still held to state attendance laws. Of the 25 school districts in Harris County, HISD is one of only 2 that are not DOI. It is time for HISD to join surrounding districts and take the necessary steps to offer an educational experience that meets the unique needs of students and communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ruth Kravitz.
This is great. It's like counterpoint. Most school districts in Texas have already adopted the District of Innovation Plan, as my predecessor said, so why are we the odd man out? Most adopted DOI to waive the state's requirement that schools start no earlier than the 4th Monday in August, which we support. But there's an obvious solution to the problem. There's a special session coming up. Our state legislators could simply get rid of this unfortunate law. Finally, something that people on both sides of the aisle could support and agree on. But DOI is a wolf in sheep's clothing. The District of Innovation was created by the folks who gave us the Stand Your Ground rules that led to Trayvon's death. The District of Innovation law was written in 2015 at the same time as House Bill 1842, the state takeover law, and this is no coincidence. Who in their right mind would support getting rid of important protections like class size limits and teachers being certified and parents having a right to visit the school in which their children learn, or open meetings requirements, or nepotism laws, or teachers having a duty-free lunch so they can go to the bathroom and eat in between teaching 6 shows a day 5 days a week plus matinees. Mr. Miles, you already control the board. The board votes unanimously for every agenda item. You've replaced the cabinet with some of your apologists, so there's no one but the public to speak out forcefully about policies that are ill-conceived, poorly executed, and sometimes illegal. We are here. You've changed the rules for who could be appointed to the DAC in August, paving the way for you to be able to stack the DAC. So now you have complete control over the district advisory committee and have removed people whose views do not align with yours, including one of the nicest people I've ever met. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about a wonderful parent who you took off because their views are different than yours. Can our democracy survive another leader like you who fashions yourself king? Thank you.
Thank you. Is the Zoom working? Okay. Ms. Quesada, I think, was intending to be by Zoom, but is present. Right here. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
You've given us less than a week notice for this meeting and slapped it in the middle of the workday. You don't care what parents, teachers, students, and community members think. The only people you'll listen to are Good Reason Houston and the Greater Houston Partnership. Furthermore, this is disingenuous to conduct this meeting soliciting public comment when you haven't been transparent or honest with the public. What exemptions from Texas Education Code are you going to request? The only exemption you've disclosed is the change to the school calendar, because you know you'll get less pushback on that than if you tell us all the exemptions you actually plan to take. You want more days to do STAR test prep with our kids. My kids opt out of STAR and everyone should too. Don't give them the faulty data to use against us. This is not a meeting conducted in good faith. This is just another box being checked in the process. We know that you will be asking for exemptions to teacher certification, class sizes, parental notification, teacher contracts, and more. Teachers at some campuses have said that their principals have told them that they will no longer have SDMCs or make school improvement plans. I was confused as to how they can do this, as it's a violation of Texas Education Code. This is signaling to me that this administration is looking to pursue that exemption for campus-based decision-making committees, school improvement plans, and the DAC, district-based decision-making committees. But for the record, your principals will still need to have SDMCs and school improvement plans for this year. This is about convenience and skirting state law. You're not being innovative, you're just being lazy and unimaginative. Miles, you were unsuccessful as a superintendent in Dallas and in getting home rule charter for Dallas, but you, Marath, and Abbott played the long game and won. You all pushed through HB 1842, the takeover law, which also contains districts of innovation. And I've just had about enough of HB 1842 and this takeover.
Thank you. We'll now take a brief break to see if we can get the Zoom working. We'll reconvene whenever it is up so that we can hear from the remainder of the community. Thank you.
So if I get into trouble for calling you.
I don't dare. Who said that?
See that lady in the aqua? She's sitting down with the blondish hair. That one.
I'm looking at. But all of them.
The meeting is now reconvened at 4:55 p.m. We're resuming our meeting at 4:55 p.m. We have one speaker via Zoom, Judith Cruz. Ms. Cruz, can you please make sure your video is on? Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you. Buenas tardes. I spent the last 4 years looking at data for our student outcomes. Every time we monitored the beginning of year data, the students regressed sometimes by double digits. It's no secrets that our students experience summer slide. There's years of research that demonstrates this, and we need an earlier start date to our school year to help not just with summer slide, but to accelerate the learning of our students after the global pandemic. Many parents want long summers for vacations, internships, jobs, and other experiences for their students over the summer. Those things can and should exist and shouldn't exist only for some. We need to rely on our longtime partners, such as organizations like DiscoverU, to connect and support our students with high quality summer learning experiences. We need more of this, not less, but we also need more instructional time for our students. The state provided a mechanism for school districts to be able to lengthen the school year through the designation of adaptive innovation. I am a parent and a former teacher, and I know how critical it is for to spend time learning. I ask for transparency in the plan and what exemptions will be sought. I support an earlier start, longer school year that still allows students out of school learning experiences. And I support seeking exemption for the 90% rule that ties course credit to seat time instead of academic progress. This will allow more students to earn necessary credit. We don't need to waste another school year waiting for that extra learning time. Let's do the right thing for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. We had two other speakers via Zoom who have not joined via Zoom. With no further business to discuss, this public hearing is now adjourned at 4:57 p.m. on September 14th, 2023. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes to start the regular board meeting that's set for 5 p.m.
These are all old stuff. We're getting new stuff. That was fast. I thought we were going to closed session.